It is tournament time on Dead Ball Dancing. We have had some fantastic games so far this offseason, and we're not done. Only about halfway through.
God, I mean, first of all, the first round games were amazing. Some I think I had no idea. Like I called Wisconsin a Elite Eight team. I guess I was wrong. High Point looked good. I mean,
Fire
High Point.
great
I feel
guard.
like
Fire great guard.
you're ready. Oh, you're okay. You're ready to go. Okay.
3 first round exits. 3 times they missed the tournament. He's only been there for 8 years. Gone. Get him gone.
Get him gone. Hey, you know what? And I don't think anyone would necessarily blame you for doing that. But
Give me High Points.
Apparently they're doing something right? I mean, these guys are. I thought they were going to beat Arkansas too, dude. I mean, this whole field I felt like was amazing. One of the games I was really interested in seeing was, and I know you've probably been tracking bracketology super closely as well, was Louisville, South Florida. That was one of the most frequent games that was picked as an upset in the first round. Mm-hmm. And they almost did it, dude. Like they almost did it. So I felt like every game was entertaining. I mean, obviously, you had some blowouts. St. John's over UNI. You called that one.
Yeah. Well, let's run down the board.
Let's do it.
I have a question for you first, because along with my notes and the scores, I have up on my screen my bracket, because I am a one bracket guy. I make the best pick I think I can make, and I put it in. So you're saying you are as well. There are people who will just dump a ton of brackets in, which from a gambling standpoint, I don't really have a problem with. But I don't want to be like, oh, I had that St. John's over Duke upset, but only in the one bracket. So no, commit to your upsets and stuff. But I know that this is the time of year where a lot of people who don't watch college basketball get into college basketball. And I don't want to take anything away from that experience, because it's part of what makes this sport so much better than the other sports. It's you can just drop in the office pool and pick purple teams, and you know what? More times than not, it's going to work out. So I don't hate it.
And I do. It's funny you say that. I actually just pulled up my bracket as well. I got 99.8% right. I
99.8 percentile.
Oh shit. Oh yeah, that math makes a lot more sense actually.
Yeah.
Wait. Yes. Yeah. Okay. I was about to say, there's no way I have an almost perfect. Thank you for that. I got a little on my high horse. Yeah, a little on my high horse there. But man, what a good week of hoops, man. Where do you want to start, dude? Because I feel like there's so many.
I've got the schedule up chronologically. I say let's just roll through. If there's one you want to talk about a little bit more, we'll stay on a little bit longer. If there's one we want to skip, I'll just give you the score. High Point 83, Wisconsin 82. On to the next one. We lost. I came out of a meeting, and I hadn't touched my phone for 15 minutes, no more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And Wisconsin had lost after having a 10-point lead.
Yep.
And the Bachelorette was canceled. And my phone, I had 150 text messages, Instagram messages, emails from people. Yeah. I thought someone died.
Yeah.
And no, it's just my hopes and dreams and my side business all dying all at once.
Yeah. So. Which is a tough way to start. But why don't you keep going down, including the first four, because I feel like there's an elephant in the room we need to discuss.
Oh, you want to talk first four?
Well, right, I just want to talk.
Let me go back. So Texas, NC State.
Missed on that.
NC State team that we thought was really good. And now looking at what Texas is doing, maybe was really good. Obviously does not get the win there. Really exciting game between Howard and UMBC on Tuesday. Howard comes out with that one. They were up by 8 at the half. And then just the whole second half, it's Howard's going to blow this, aren't they? But close out the game and win.
Yep.
The Wednesday games, I'm going to eat a whole bunch of crow today, because my picks all throughout are bad. Miami of Ohio has lost. They are done.
Yes.
They put the nails to that SMU team. That SMU team we talked a lot about this year.
Yeah.
Man, good job.
Maybe they belonged. I mean, granted, Tennessee, I think at this point is probably going to be. You can make an argument for an Elite Eight team. Like, Iowa State is not a pushover. I don't know if they get by them, but losing to Tennessee is kind of what I expected out of Miami, Ohio. But
yeah, absolutely. Well, and we talked about it all year, right? Like I said they were bad. You said they were good, but we both ended up in the same spot where it's like, hey, if you go undefeated, you're a tournament team. I had no problem with that. I think they actually got a little shafted being the play-in because I think it sets a precedent in the future for mid-majors to go undefeated. Because good job. Here's an extra game, and you got to play, one of the big teams.
Yeah, one of the best offensive teams in the nation, right?
I kind of dislike that, but
me too.
I mean, they beat a really good SMU team, man. It's hard to argue with anything else.
No, and they look good doing it, right? Like a 10-point win is a 10-point win. And I thought that they did that pretty convincingly. Held an SMU team who's averaging 90 plus to 79. Like they found a way to get it done. Obviously, the Tennessee game is a different story, but I was proud of the way that they kind of showed out there a little bit. So that's enough for the first four. There's plenty of more games.
Yeah, that's the one you wanted. the Prairie View game was Lehigh should be embarrassed with the effort that they
should.
Did, but
they should.
It is what it is.
Yep. Finally got one right there too.
Wisconsin High Point. I have no notes. I don't want to talk about this game.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it either. Keep going.
Siena took an 11-point lead over Duke into the half. And Duke really needed an outstanding defensive performance late. Like we're talking like inside of 3 minutes before they put this game away. Boozer, at the end of the day, the box score looks fine. Duke scored 71 points. That's enough points. This was bad. This was really bad.
They kind of if you look at their stats, their shooting and the inconsistencies that they've kind of felt this year from the beyond the arc really got exposed. 5 for 26. And you needed essentially a generational player to bail you out, which, I mean, every single one of those, BAJ did it for Arkansas against High Point, right? Like the players that are generational are going to step up and get you the win no matter what, but scary. And now you're playing a St. John's team that we'll talk about a little bit here in a bit, where you can't have that performance, or St. John's might beat you by 20. So it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back.
We'll get to it. I mean, I guess we could jump ahead a little bit. I was scared as hell for this TCU game. Yeah. Those Duke kids must have gotten the shit beat out of them. I want to see lower backs and high thighs because I think someone hit them with a stick until they played good because they whooped the shit out of TCU.
A very good TCU team that, I think we had both picked to beat Iowa State or Ohio State. I took them first round over Ohio State, and I was like going into this Duke game after that Siena performance, and I was like, oh shit, like you got to deal with David Punch on the interior, who's 10 times as athletic as anybody that Duke has. Like you might be in trouble. And man, like it was close at half, but they really stepped on the gas in the second half. Put it away. So I think they bounced back pretty well, but I'm keeping my eye on that 1-5 coming up here on 327 versus St. John's, because that St. John's team is humming right now. So that'll be a really, really tough game for them.
Michigan blew out Howard. A little concerned about the 80 points they gave up, but a 21-point win is a 21-point win. They were playing with their food a little bit at the end. Yeah.
I mean, did the same thing to a St. Louis team who beat Georgia by 50 or whatever the hell it was, which you and I just colossally missed on.
Missed.
So I think we could both eat a little crow on that one. Michigan looks real good. I want to get into that Michigan-Bama game a little bit later here as we continue to go through the bracket, but keep my eye on that one for sure.
Houston beat a decent enough Idaho team. That was never really up for debate. Did what they needed to do there.
Absolutely.
Michigan State beats a surprisingly spry North Dakota State team. They looked really, really good in the second half. I don't know how much of that was Michigan State kind of resting people. There were a lot of missing minutes for some starters. That game was never really that interesting.
Not really.
But if you're North Dakota State, you got to feel good about 42 points in the second half.
I mean, it kind of exposed Michigan State's weakness all year, which has been kind of taking the foot off the gas in the second half of games. they did it against Nebraska. They did it against Illinois. So, they kind of fall prone to that sometimes. I don't think Izzo will let that happen against a really good UConn team they have to play. But I'm going to keep it there, actually. I'm going to slide down a couple of games. UConn Furman. The Furman Paladins kind of put up a little bit of a fight there. We had put them on notice, I think, earlier on in the season about how good they are on the defensive side of the ball. They don't need to score a lot of points to win. And they held the UConn team kind of pretty close throughout the second half. I think they were only down like 2 or 3 at halftime. So Furman looked really good. I was proud of the way that low to mid-major kind of performed there in a pretty big game, one of the biggest of their biggest of the season, obviously. So pretty surprising.
Illinois beat the hell out of Penn, 65 points in the second half. We give Illinois a lot of shit. They were up 10 at the half, and they're like, yeah, there's some adjustments we can make.
Yeah,
just kind of blew that one out.
They're number 1 in the country in O rating, right? And I think they showed that for a reason. I think we'll get into a really good game coming up here in the Sweet 16 that Illinois has got, but the Big Ten has a spattering of teams in the top 15 across the O rating.
6 out of 6. Oh, O rating. Yeah, 6 out of the last 16 bracket spots.
Yeah, but which is even more impressive, right? So not surprising to see Illinois kind of put the foot to the pedal there a little bit and really blow a pretty solid Penn team out of the water. They did the same thing to VCU in the round of 32 as well. So I got Illinois going here. So we'll see what kind of turns out in the Sweet 16.
Well, our buddy Riley in our bracket competition is Illinois cutting down the nets. So he lost his other championship team. He had Illinois beating Wisconsin. But
okay. That's
yeah. Yeah. Zags beat Kennesaw State, kind of tight. That's just kind of who the Zags are at this point.
Yep.
Nebraska over Troy. I don't really have anything there.
Nope, nothing there. Nope.
Arkansas looked really good against a really good Hawaii team. I'm disappointed that this Hawaii team had to play Arkansas. This is a Hawaii team that, given pretty much any other draw, wins a game in the tournament. I would have loved to see that. Arkansas obviously beats them by almost 20. Arkansas is good.
Yeah. Arkansas is a little scary. I don't know how I feel about this Arizona-Arkansas game. Arizona obviously is probably the most well-balanced team that we still have left in the tournament, maybe other than Michigan. You can make argument 1-2, which, you see here in our top 25, 1 and 2. Their guard play on the Arizona side is phenomenal, but what do you do about Darius Acuff Jr., man? I don't know what you do about him. 36 against High Point, like 50% from the field. He shot like 98% from the line. The kid is just generational. So Arkansas looks great. They're firing on all cylinders. I'm curious to see what that Arizona Arkansas game is going to look like.
Well, and I've got a question for you on that game, but we're going to save it for a little bit.
Yes, sir. Yep, let's do it.
Vandy, who was my runner-up pick, shit the bed. They did beat McNeese. I knew they weren't going to lose to McNeese. My big thing was no 5 seed was going to lose. So of course the Badgers fucked that. All the other 5s took care of business. They closed it out. Obviously Nebraska had their number, man. They just kind of played them correctly. It was a Big Ten game, and Nebraska
it was a Big Ten game, and Nebraska's used to Big Ten ball, right? Muddle it up. Same thing we'll talk about with Iowa in a little bit, right? But Nebraska looks real sharp. Mast is obviously still not 100%, but he's starting to look a little bit like his old self. And that team is really well balanced. Like the way that they have offensive flow, they get good shots. It feels like they're never forcing the ball, fadeaway threes or anything like that. They got good interior, exterior passing. So Nebraska looks real good. I was actually surprised about that Vandy result. But man, kudos to Nebraska for kind of taking that home for sure.
I want to call attention to our board here really quick. These are our Sweet 16 rankings. This is only the 16 teams remaining.
Yep.
But then it's our aggregate ranking like we've been using all year. So that's what you're seeing on your screen. You mentioned this Louisville South Florida game. The Bulls almost got that one done. We've talked about a kind of suspect Louisville team for a while. We've talked about them as a suspect 5. They get the 6th seed. They still almost do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you let up 52 points in the second half against USF. Like chances are you're not going to make it very far. they played Michigan State pretty tight. I mean, Louisville ended up kind of pulling it together here a little bit. I didn't really ever see him coming out of the second round. I think you and I both picked Michigan State over Louisville in that second round of 32 game. But kudos to USF. I mean, Pinion had 27. Nelson has a double-double. Pinion had 27 and 6, which is insane. So I think USF's going to make some noise next year too. I mean, clearly they're returning the most guys. They're probably going to be a favorite in the American, but really pleased with the way they ended up playing. And then really quickly, right above that, Cal Baptist gave Kansas a freaking scare. I mean, they made Darren Peterson look pretty inefficient from the floor. Obviously, DP will still be a top 5 pick, which I don't necessarily agree with. But Cal Baptist really, really muddled that game up. I mean, you only let up 68 points to Kansas. That's a pretty impressive showing by a 13 seed. So,
and they battled back. I mean, they were done to the better team. I mean, that game was over at the half, and they didn't say die, man. They came right back and battled back into that game.
42-30 in the second half. I mean, what a great performance by Cal Baptist. Daniels Jr. is just a phenomenal player. And I'm really excited to see what Cal Baptist looks like next year, because they got to be the favorite again. So, man, just a lot. I feel like there's a lot of good low-seeded teams that looked real sharp. Kennesaw State, like you talked about earlier, 64-73 versus Gonzaga. Like, I feel like, again, we've talked about it this year a little bit, the gap is closing between, these high majors and mid majors. So really excited to see what kind of noise they make next year, man. I feel like we're going to get a Cinderella run.
VCU beat North Carolina. I had an alt line on this one, VCU -2.5. That hit with a great overtime period. I made all of my lost bracket money back on VCU. So thank you, Rams. North Carolina, you suck.
Yeah, and you know what? I think we both called that. I know you took VCU over North Carolina. I did as well. You convinced me. And man, that ended up working out. So they looked real good. They came back late, didn't they? Weren't they down like 17 at some point too? 47
they were running, man. They put up a ton of points in the second half, and then that overtime period, they just took their time. They got back into their offense and won that game. So
yeah, Hill Jr. with 34 and 5. I mean, they just looked real sharp. They ran him out of the building in that second half. They just tired North Carolina out. Obviously, without I believe Caleb Williams is his name. Will be a top 10 as well. So
there's one Cinderella left.
There sure is.
And we'll get into their upcoming game. But can we talk about the path that they are cutting through high-ranked teams, blue blood teams? Like, you got to be a little bit scared, because this looks like a slasher tour, man. Like, talk about Texas, obviously. Beat BYU 79-71. Take it to the Zags. You and I have both had endless thoughts on both those teams this year. We haven't talked a whole bunch about is Texas. We really haven't spent a whole lot of time on Texas, because they were like the 10th best team in the SEC.
Yeah, I mean, and I had them at first 4 out. And I guess I was very wrong. And I think what had happened was I overlooked Texas because of obviously the conference that they played in. But if you look at their statistical spread, 8th in free throws made, 35th in points, 35th in true shooting percentage. They play really good defense. Opponents are only hitting 6 threes against them a game. They're better in the second half. They're 23rd in second half deep. This team can play some ball. And I think they got overshadowed by the fact that Florida was so good and Arkansas was so good, and Bama ended up turning it on late season. A&M looked good, right? Obviously, we talk about being scared, and yeah, I'm freaking scared, right? Because unfortunately they're playing my boys next, who do look pretty damn good right now, but it's not going to be an easy win for Purdue. So Texas looks real good. I mean, they're knocking off perennial top 25 teams, no matter how you spin it, our top 25, AP, USA, whatever it might be. And they look real sharp heading into that game against Purdue. So,
I mean, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but
of course not.
If I told you that Texas was a play-in game and then beat BYU, Gonzaga, Purdue, Arizona, Michigan, and let's call it Michigan State, to win the championship. That is the greatest tournament run of all time. That's a mix of blue bloods and new bloods and everyone. I mean, that run would be everything. That Texas team, they should all get drafted at that point. I mean,
absolutely. And I think they got a couple NBA players, but I mean, you could make the argument that the trajectory that they're on, that's completely feasible. I think it's feasible that they beat Purdue. I think they might run into a buzzsaw against Arizona because Arizona just looks like a different beast right now. But I mean, you could already make the argument that based on the teams they've beat, NC State, real freaking good. They were in our top 25 for a while. Gonzaga, they've been in our top 25 the whole year. BYU, I mean, they've also kind of been in our top 25 all year. You could already make the argument it's one of the best runs ever from play-in to Sweet 16. The only one that I think might be better is maybe Loyola Chicago when they went to the Final Four. But, I mean, that's the only one that you can make the argument on.
But if I'm remembering correctly, like they beat shitty teams, didn't they? Like it was still a cool story, but like it wasn't that list of juggernauts, right? Like,
yeah, you're probably right. This is probably the most knocked off blue bloods in one run that we've seen, and I'm hoping that my boys are next. But I mean, logically, it would make sense. So,
well, and if I'm Arizona, I'm hoping Purdue beats Texas because I would rather play a Purdue team I match up well against than blazing hot Texas. Because like that Texas team, like they're a play-in team, like they had that us against the world thing already. They do not match up well with any of these teams. They shouldn't have beaten BYU. They shouldn't have even beaten Gonzaga. So, like, if I'm Arizona, I'm pulling for Purdue because I don't want to play this Texas team
at all. Not when they're humming like this.
You lose to the 2 seed, people are like, "Oh, well, Arizona, they had, kids ready for the league kind of stuff." It's like whatever. You lose to the 11 seed that played in. It's a different story.
It's a completely different story. Where else you want to hit before we get into the meat, man? Where else you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, I don't even think when you talk St. Louis, Georgia, man, that one was a boat race, and then it got away from them. So
53 in the second half, 49 in the first half, 102 total. Obviously, I think we both had them losing to Michigan no matter what. And they did, 23-point loss. Michigan looks real good. St. Louis is a hell of a team. They should be back next year. No issue. Right. I mean, that team is very, very solid.
I want to touch on Santa Clara, Kentucky. Heartbreaker, man. Heartbreaker. I thought our Broncos were going to get it done. Kentucky went to overtime and remembered they were Kentucky. 27 points in the overtime period is crazy.
Absurd. It was a low-scoring game until OT, dude. It was like –
yeah, I wonder what the total – I wasn't on the total on that game. There's probably some pissed-off bettors out there.
Oh, my God, absolutely. And obviously, Otega Owe, just completely generational performance, 35, 8, and 7. I mean, the guy's obviously ready for the league, but what a way to close that out. Did you see that controversy, though, where the coach was calling for a timeout and they didn't give it to him?
Yeah, and like obviously with the replay, it is what it is, right? We can see it was wrong, but
yeah, absolutely. I think we're kind of omitting a very important game here. Obviously,
buzzer.
One of the
Let's just give him a buzzer.
Probably not a bad idea, right? I mean, they're doing it in the MLB where they got the quick replays now and shit figured out. Like, come on, guys, what are we? We're kind of skipping over here, kind of a big one here. Utah State over Villanova. I had Utah State. Played in probably the best Arizona team we've seen in the last decade. Very tight. That game was close pretty much all the way until the end. Now we have to have the tough conversation. Utah State plays BYU. Utah State beats BYU.
With the loss we just saw to Texas, I struggle to play devil's advocate. I guess the devil's advocate argument is BYU has a better player on their team than anyone Utah State has played all year.
I mean, they also had the better team or the better player against Texas, and he had 35, and they lost.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying.
Yeah, like I said, that's about all I've got. That's about the only argument I can make.
Mike's gonna be pissed. I'm just saying, like, one of these times we're gonna get that matchup in the tournament. I don't know when. Hopefully, it's next year. And I'm putting the house on Utah State. The house.
BYU misses the tournament next year.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, that Robert Williams III is gone. DeBonce is gone. What's his name is gone. The guy with the ACL is gone. So yeah, you're probably right. You're probably right. So
talk to me about Iowa Clemson. This is a Clemson team we were high on coming down the end of the year. Iowa kind of took care of business.
They did. You know what? They kind of fizzled out in the second. I shouldn't even say fizzled out. 32-25 in the first, 36-35 in the second half. I mean, we both took them, I think. But the way that they were playing defense against, again, Clemson is a perennial top 30 offense in the country. Holding Clemson to 61 points is insane. And then not only do you hold Clemson to 61 points, you then go ahead and hold Florida to 72. And I think what impressed me the most about Iowa is Sturtz has not looked good. He has struggled from the field both games. And Iowa is finding ways to win games. And I think that's scary for any team that has to play Iowa next. I mean, Iowa, Nebraska, I think that beer is going to sell out in a 10-mile radius 15 minutes before the game even starts. That is going to be a bloodbath, and two teams that don't like each other. Iowa looks sharp, dude. That's one of the things I wanted. Did you see this coming from Iowa? I had Florida to the Final Four. I mean, I missed.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, we knew they were going to win the game against Clemson.
Yep.
No, the only people that had Iowa over Florida are Hawkeyes fans that didn't graduate.
Agreed.
So it's like they played well. I don't want to take anything away from Iowa, but like they also got Florida's worst game in 3 months.
Agreed.
So, you win the games you win the games that are scheduled. This opened Iowa-Nebraska, opened Nebraska as a 2.5 favorite. It's bet down to 1.5. I mean, this is a Big Ten brawl. And the fact that Iowa found a way to turn the Florida game into a Big Ten brawl makes me think that they're ready for Nebraska. I don't know that if I was redoing my bracket today, I don't know that I could pick Iowa. They lost at Nebraska in overtime, right? In March. I don't know. I'm thinking this is like my pick for game of the week. Like this is the one I want to watch the most because I think the number of outcomes for this game is higher than any other game that's left.
Agreed. And I mean, the thing is Iowa's looked really good all year, right? Like they're 15th in scoring defense. They're obviously proving that, right? Did you know that they're the number 1 scoring defense in the first half? They're number 1. They're only allowing 29 points in the first half. And they're proving, right? They just did it to Clemson. They just did it to Florida.
Yeah.
They are only allowing 19 defensive rebounds a game.
Well, and Nebraska's offense isn't Clemson or Florida.
No, so, it's not.
They're not that good. Hold on. Somebody's going to take that out of context. They're not as good offensively as Clemson and Florida are.
No.
So, I mean, if I told you, if you're Iowa and I told you that you held Nebraska to 65 points, you probably feel pretty damn good about that.
And you probably feel pretty good about your chances, right? I mean, this team is probably one of the best defensive teams in the Big Ten. You can make the argument. I mean, just looking at their stats alone, you could make that argument. And then you look at what they've done to these top 10 teams, right? Nebraska Clemson from an offensive perspective, Florida from an all-around perspective, and they've dominated. So I think this Nebraska-Iowa game, to your point, is not only going to be game of the week, I think this might be game of the tournament. So I really want people to tune into this because it is going to be a bloodbath. That is going to be the best game of the tournament.
Okay, so let's kind of transition into the upcoming games here.
Let's do it.
Let's start with your boys because I know that's the one you're going to have the most to say about. Texas, Purdue.
Yeah.
This is Purdue 6.5, totals at 148.5.
Yep.
I don't think that this Texas team is better than Purdue. We've already talked about this, the Cinderella. They are the last Cinderella left.
Yep.
And they're a biggie, but they don't match up real well against Purdue on the interior. They don't match up real well against Purdue outside the arc. I don't think that there's anything to worry about here, which is why I'm worried.
Me too. And I think what the reason why, and we'll get into kind of our locks and upsets later, but I think the reason why I'm concerned, but not necessarily like freaking out yet, is because I feel like Purdue's offense can kind of do it both ways a little bit, right? Like you can get it into the post, slow the game down, Big Ten style. But then you also have a team that's incredibly efficient on the break, right? You have a team that's second in O rating, just behind Illinois. So I think our height and I think our ability to be dynamic on the offensive side of the court is the reason why I'm not overly concerned. But I'm probably not going to watch that game. I'm too scared. And we're finally getting to the point where we might make the Elite Eight, and this is where if I watch, they lose. So I'm not going to be tuning into that. You can watch for me. But I think to your point, from a matchup perspective, Purdue looks halfway decent against a pretty good Texas team. So,
yeah, I'll probably have this one on no 602 events. So I might be able to get this one in before date night.
Yeah, absolutely. Now,
I will, however, unfortunately miss Arkansas, Arizona. So that's one I'm going to have to go back and watch after the fact. This is a good matchup if you enjoy lightning speed basketball. These teams are awesome. This might be the two most athletically talented teams that are left in the field.
Yeah.
Arizona is a 7.5 point favorite. Totals at 167.5.
I don't think Arizona wins by 8 points. I could see them winning by 5 or 6. I think they're going to have trouble containing DAJ late. And I think what's been interesting about this Arkansas team is if you look at the high point game, right, you had Malik Thomas with 19. You had Billy Richmond with 15. You had Acuff with 36. Brazil, incredibly efficient, 8 and 8, 50% from the field. Malik Ewan, 14 points, 50% from the field, 12 rebounds. Arkansas role players are stepping up in a big way, which is why I'm thinking that this Arizona-Arkansas game is going to be much, much closer than what people expect. I'm trying to see where I have Arkansas. Just give me 1 sec. And I actually have Arkansas at my 7. And I was thinking about actually putting them before Houston, Iowa State, because that's how much they've impressed me.
Yeah.
Now, who's going to contain Burries and Pete? No idea, right? Like those guys are completely different animals, but that 7.5 line is very interesting to me, Rick, because I don't see Arizona winning by that much. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's my judgment's clouded a little bit because Arizona is going to win this game. They are the better team.
Yep.
But yeah, I think if you told me this was an overtime game or if Arizona had to make 4 out of 4 free throws down the line to keep the possession set right, that wouldn't surprise me. We've seen this Arkansas team be good. We've seen this Arkansas team play really, really well with the lead. And I think there's an opportunity for them to get ahead of Arizona and build and sustain a small lead. The problem is that Arizona can score 10 points in 3 possessions and it's going to wipe out everything you've done for 10 minutes. And I don't think they have an answer for that. I think if they've expended their energy trying to hold on to one of their leads and Arizona wipes it away, I think that's probably the game. I'd be looking to live bet this. If Arkansas is up 6 and Arizona goes coast to coast on them twice, like I'm going to hammer like Arizona -5.5 live and just build up to it, So but I think it'll be a fun game.
Yeah, I mean, they're only 7 deep, right? I mean, and it, for all intents and purposes, that's freaking working, right? Like 7 deep when you have some of the most well-rounded talent in the entire tournament is going to work for you no matter who you're playing. But I'm just concerned that they might fizzle out. So I'm going to keep my eye very close at the score at halftime. And then at the 15-minute media timeout, where does each one of those teams land and how do they pass the eye test for me? If Arizona's energetic in the huddle and Arkansas is like huffing and puffing, hammer Arizona -10, right? But it's all going to come down to how that first half starts. So I think this one has a chance to be game of the week as well, for sure.
Illinois, Houston. This is my upset. Houston 3.5, total at 139. And I'm going against what we talked about in our previous show, right? The body blow theory. Houston had no trouble. There was no slowdown at all in Texas A&M. And Illinois, even though they won by a lot, Penn made them work. VCU made them work. I don't think that, from what I've seen, right, wipe away everything, tournaments and new season, I think Illinois is a better team than Houston right now. And I think they have a chance to jump up and win this game. I did not rank them like this because I did. I have Illinois 4th and Houston 5th. I think it's that close. I think it's that close, but give me Illinois to win this one because I think right now they're better than Houston.
And I think the only thing that I'm looking at for Houston is not only their efficiency, against Idaho, 50% from the field, 53%, from three. Struggled a little bit more in the A&M game, 45% from the field, 30% from three. They have back-to-back games over 45 rebounds. And if there's one team or there's one thing that could potentially expose Illinois or test Illinois, it's a team that can rebound as well as Illinois, because Illinois is the best rebounding team in the nation. But if you go up against a team who's also going to fight you on the glass, that is going to get physical, that is going to get gritty, and I'm very, very curious to see how that one turns out, because Houston can go toe to toe with them, size and athleticism wise. So really curious to see how that one turns out. I see that being a very, very close game. So that'll be one that I keep my eye on as well.
So before we switch days here, I just wanted to pick your brain on something.
Yep.
There are 5 conferences represented in the Sweet 16. The ACC, the Big 12, the Big East, the Big 10, and the SEC. We've talked about how the majors are closing in and getting closer. We've talked about how the ACC, Duke aside, is weaker. The final 16 teams in the country are from the only basketball power conferences in existence.
I know.
Do you think that is indicative of where the sport is going, or is what we saw all year, where the mid-majors, particularly the high mids, right, played really, really good basketball against the power teams? Is that real? Or is the result where of the last 16 teams in the country, all that's left are Power 5 teams? Which one of those is the real thing?
And I think I'm going to rescind what I talked about all year in terms of the mid-majors closing the gap, because when it's mattered most, the high majors, I think that's what you would call them, right? The blue bloods, so to speak, have closed those games out, right? And I'm thinking, or I'm hoping it doesn't happen, but the transfer portal for these guys averaging 30 a game on the mid-majors, if they can make $8 million playing for Michigan, why the hell wouldn't you do it? So I unfortunately do think that what we're seeing now in March Madness is going to be the real trajectory, which is not ideal for me because I love a nice mid-major upset. But when it matters most, we've seen these Power Fives close out. And no matter how weak the conference has looked all year, they've risen to the occasion. They've risen to the top. So until we get proven otherwise, that's what we got to believe, right? Because there's really only been one upset, 2 upsets, VCU and High Point, and that's really it. So
yeah, you could point it like Utah State, the effort from Cal Baptist, Furman,
sure,
as efforts,
sure.
But yeah, I was really hoping for more this year.
Me too.
And obviously, the last 16 teams in the country, that's a hard nut to crack. The tournament is designed for those teams to lose, right, wrong, or indifferent. It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So Sweet 16 is probably not the right place to have this conversation. If you roll it back to the round of 32, there are a lot more of those teams that are in there. There are a lot more of those results that are closer. But then there's also just blowouts, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
So yeah, I just something I wanted to kind of touch on because all year we were talking about like the A10, man. We talked about a 4-bid A10.
Yeah.
VCU lost to Illinois by 20.
Yeah. VCU was essentially our only hope, right? Like I was hoping they were going to try Illinois a little bit more. But I mean, again, I think the size difference, the athleticism difference really starts to come into play. When you get to these
McNeese might have beat that Nebraska team.
I had McNeese beating Vandy, and they kept it close, 10-point loss. Obviously they got Clemson last year. They might have beat that Nebraska team with how strong they've looked in recent years. So, it's an interesting question. I don't know if I have the answer, but I think it's trending towards Power 5 still being king.
Let's turn the page to Friday's game, St. John's and Duke. I'm calling this a must-win game for Duke. If Duke loses this game, it's a wasted season.
Couldn't agree more. Now, do we see them testing Duke? Because I do. I
don't. Tell me. Yeah, talk to me about that.
I think what I'm interested to see is St. John's has looked so powerful on the defensive side of the ball, and they have the height to contain Boozer. If Duke is shooting like they shot against Siena or the first half against TCU, and St. John's has the lead at the half, I don't know if St. John's doesn't put their foot on the neck of Duke in the second half. They forced Kansas into 16 turnovers. That is unheard of. They're stealing the ball on like 15% of their possessions. They seem to really have a knack for like this two-third quarter court trap, which I've been keeping my eye on pretty much the whole tournament. I don't think they win the game, but I do see them keeping this close. Don't be surprised if they're up at the half. If this doesn't come down to a buzzer beater in the last like 10 to 15 seconds of the game. I'm really, really interested to see how this game turns out. What are your thoughts on this one?
Give me a Boozer combined quadruple double.
Okay.
So four cats in double digits across the two of them.
Yep.
I think the Duke team that we saw in the second half against TCU is the real Duke team. And that's why I don't think this is going to be close, because that Duke team blows the doors off St. John's.
Yep.
If, for whatever reason, Duke falls back into whatever the shit the Siena game was and the first half against what is a good TCU team, if they fall back into those patterns, I think you're absolutely right. If St. John's hits all their shots, St. John's can't be middling St. John's. They have to be Big East champion St. John's. They have to be the best version of themselves if Duke is the worst version of themselves. And I think that difference for me is why I say I don't think there's any chance. Because if Duke shows up, Duke wins this game. And so I think that the gap is too wide from both teams at their best.
Yeah. What I'm interested in is we've talked a lot about Boozer, right, and containing Boozer. Who's guarding Ejiofor? Is that Boozer? Because if it's Boozer, that dude's body is going to be beat the hell up by the 15-minute mark in the second half, because Ejiofor doesn't.
But he's built for it. He's built for it. It's more a concern for the next game, I think.
Yeah, sure.
Like your point is valid, but I think he makes it through. What's he play? 32 minutes a game. I think he can make it through that, right? But then I'd be scared as shit against, quite frankly, either UConn or Michigan State, because if he's had to work that damn hard 2 days earlier,
gonna be a tough one. Big one for Michigan, huh?
Yeah, 10-point favorites over Alabama. Bama kind of faded late. They're not. I don't think that they're 10 points worse than Michigan.
I mean, this is the number one scoring offense in the country. This is the number one three-point shooting team in the country. They make the 11th most field goals. They're number one first half, second half. You know what's been interesting? LeBron Philon has looked weak He shot 2 for 12 against Texas Tech, and they won by 25 points. The fact that they're holding teams, a Texas Tech team, who is a top 10 offense in the country, to 65 points is incredibly impressive. Do I think they beat Michigan? No, I don't think they beat Michigan. But if this type of defensive effort is shown up against Michigan and you put up 90 points, you might want to keep your eye on it, because if this Alabama team does indeed figure out how to protect the interior against one of the best interior offensive teams in the nation, this is going to be a lot closer than people expect, because they're going to score 90-something points. They're going to have 10, 13 threes, right? If they play defense, I would not be shocked to see them take out Michigan. They had 23s against Texas Tech.
Well, and you know who Alabama looks a lot like schematically on the floor? St. Louis, who only lost to Michigan by 23. Alabama is better at every position, including water boy, than St. Louis.
Great.
If you can kind of put the two together, right? Alabama 90, Texas Tech 65, Michigan 95, St. Louis 72. There's a formula in there for a 2-point Alabama win in the mid 80s.
Right.
It's conceivable.
Especially if they're playing D, man. Like if this team plays defense, 70 to a decent Hofstra team, right? 65 against a top 10 offense. You're going against the best team in the nation, other than Arizona. Repeat that performance, and I completely agree. There is a chance that they could shock Michigan.
Michigan State, UConn is one I'm very excited for.
Me too.
We're going to find out who this UConn team is. They are
Absolutely.
2.5-point favorites over Michigan State. And I feel like now we have almost a 40-game data set. I feel like we know who Michigan State is. They are streaky. They are challenged at times. Are they better than UConn?
I have a very, very tough take. I think that starting 5 versus starting 5, Michigan State is better than UConn at 4 out of 5 positions. I think solo ball, UConn's point guard, is better than Fierce. I do think that. But from an interior presence perspective, Michigan State has 2 guys that can play interior, exterior, shoot threes, shoot the midi, and they're incredibly efficient. I think we'll just jump right ahead and jump into my pick. I actually have this as the upset of the week. Now, you can make an argument that it's not really an upset, right? I think I agree with you on that. 2.5-point favorite.
UConn's the favorite.
Yeah, UConn's the favorite. 2.5 points, 3 points. I don't see a way that Michigan State loses this game, man. They feel like a more complete, and though they're streaky, powerful team on both sides of the court. You hold a top 10 offense, top 15 offense in Louisville to 69 points. North Dakota State under 70 points. UConn's look shaky. 82-71 Furman. Sure, 73-57 UCLA. That game was a lot closer than what that final score was indicative of.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this game? I got this as my upset, man. I'm not sure how.
So I'm going to speak very plainly.
Yeah.
Because my girlfriend bleeds green and white. I have Michigan State winning this game. I think Michigan State is better.
I do too.
The better narrative is St. John's beating Duke and UConn beating Michigan State, and St. John's beating UConn 4 times.
Yep. I agree. I
think that would be a lot of fun. And
it would kind of put to rest this whole UConn narrative, right? Like, I'm so tired of this UConn narrative. And that would be a hell of an Elite Eight matchup. Oh my God, there would be blood on the court, dude. Jesus.
I don't know that there's a way it gets done. And I think that's the piece that I keep. And sorry, UConn did blow out St. John's. It'll be for the 3rd time in 4 games.
Yep. As
I get text messages. Put damn comments in the chat. Anyway, I don't know that there's a way that it's not Michigan State here. I think they're better every facet of the game. But man, St. John's has played hard. St. John's has played well. I didn't think St. John's had it in them to beat Kansas the way they did. They played really efficient basketball and got their scoring in where they needed to get it in. And I didn't think they had that. I don't know if St. John's gets through Duke, so I don't know if that matters. But
yeah.
And that takes some of the luster off of it. So for me, give me Michigan State. I think they're better than UConn. I think they might be the best team in this quarter of the bracket when it's all said and done.
I think I agree with you, especially with the way Duke has looked. Obviously, Siena first half versus Duke. TCU, my apologies. I think if it ends up being Michigan State Duke, I can see a world in which Michigan State beats Duke in that game in the Elite Eight. So that'd be a hell of a freaking matchup, though. Oh my God, I'd be keep my eye on that one.
One I know a lot of people have their eyes on. Iowa State is a 4.5-point favorite over Tennessee. Total all the way down at 138.5, which is probably about right.
That'll be a good game. I think, again, Iowa State's proven that they're probably the best defensive team in the nation when you look at it from a holistic perspective. But the fact that they're scoring 108 and put up 82 against Kentucky while holding them to 63, like this Iowa State team feels very complete. I actually have Iowa State to the Final Four versus
wait, because we'll do our Final Four.
Okay.
We'll do our Final Four.
Let me backtrack it. But I think Iowa State does end up winning that game. Tennessee, I was definitely wrong about, both in my bracket and on ChainLink. They got by Virginia. They looked real good. Closed out the game very strong.
They did. They looked very convincing in that Virginia game. I think that's the Tennessee that was there all along. I think that was the Tennessee that was there all year. And they couldn't get out of their way for half the season. And I think that might be what bites them against Iowa State, is kind of the same thing, because you can't make those mental mistakes against a team like Iowa State.
And I got to be honest, they look like they're mentally locked in. I mean, 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio against a very good Virginia team, 20 assists, 10 turnovers, 11 offensive rebounds. They look really, really sharp right now. Now, Iowa State's not going to let you have a 2-to-1 assist to turnover ratio. That's going to be probably 1-to-1, if not worse than that, just because Iowa State doesn't care. They'll pick you up full court the entire game. I do have Iowa State winning this game, but I think it's going to be real, real tight. And I think that under is about right. Or the total, I'm sorry.
Okay, Final Four. Our revised Final Four. I don't want what's in your bracket. I want from the Sweet 16. Who's getting in?
Yeah, you start. You start us off.
Okay, I have 3 Big Ten teams.
Okay.
I have Michigan, Michigan State, Illinois, and Arizona.
Michigan State.
I would like nothing more than for an all Big Ten Final Four. If Purdue can get past Arizona, I wouldn't even be upset.
Guess you would.
No, I wouldn't. We're the best conference in the league, in the whole country.
Close. Yeah, it's not even close. That's your Final Four. So you got Michigan State, Michigan, Illinois, and Arizona. Okay, that's a good one. Well, one of my Final Fours is gone because I initially took Florida, so I'll go ahead and revise that. I have Duke. I have Nebraska on the left side of the bracket. And then on the right side of the bracket, I got Iowa State and Arizona. So Arizona, Iowa State, Big 12 on this side. And then on this side, I got ACC
leftovers.
Yeah, leftovers. Yeah. So, Duke, Nebraska, Arizona, ISU. That's what I got.
Yeah. The only change for me is Illinois instead of Vandy.
Yeah.
I thought there was something there. And it made my bracket unique. I was very excited until Nebraska closed that one out. That kind of ruined everything for me. But
yeah. So I'm excited. I mean, Illinois does look like a national championship team right now. I think you can conceivably make the argument that it could be Illinois, Arizona in the championship or something like that. I would not be shocked. Illinois, Michigan, right? All Big Ten championship game. So that makes perfect sense to me for sure.
What else you got? Anything else you want to talk about at the end here? We've covered a lot of ground.
Who's your lock? You didn't tell me who the lock for the Sweet 16 game is.
Oh, Michigan over Alabama. I know they're a 10-point favorite. So like it's kind of nonsensical, but I think they win by 10.
I think that makes sense. Mine is scary, but I am going to take Purdue over Texas as my lock this week. I don't think it'll be a double-digit win. I think it'll be anywhere between 6 and 8 points. But I do have Purdue taking the dub against Texas.
Yeah. I can't. Everyone likes the Cinderella, but like at some point here, like talent wins out. Like there's a reason the Cinderellas never cut the nets down, right? Eventually, you run into a team who's good,
right? And that's when
Purdue's going to lose.
The game they should win is when they're going to lose. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to see how that one turns out.
Yeah, I think it's been a good tournament.
Absolutely.
We've had a good mix of games. There had some blowouts that were fun. There haven't really been a lot of shitty games. Even the big blowouts were competitive early. And when you have the 4 screens up, it kind of gets you into the next game.
Yeah.
You know, I really enjoy the way they stagger those games out. And so I think this was a really good year of games. And I'm hoping that the next 2 weekends here really bear that out.
Feels like it went by too fast, though. That's my only problem. Like I wish they would have spread it out a little.
We got to watch the women's games.
Yeah. Anyways, this has been Dead Ball Dead. No. Excited for the next 2 weekends, man. This is going to be an absolute.
If we get canceled for a joke like that, it's bad basketball, guys. It's boring.
I've been canceled for much less than that, so I would not be surprised if we got a cease and desist notice from somebody. Maybe the NCAA women's.
Well, hey, if you're big on women's basketball, the UFL is back in like a week. If you like watching also rans.
Now we're gonna get canceled.
No, with The Rock, is The Rock gonna beat us up? He's out of money from supporting the UFL.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
We'll be back Monday night. So we're gonna recap Sweet 16, Elite 8. And then give the Final Four preview, and then we're going to take some time off because I know no one's going to tune in after that championship game has been played.
No,
and because we're on the west side of the country, it's real tough to schedule at a time when people can actually watch live with the championship game. So we're actually going to go. We'll see you Monday, and then we'll see you on April 20th.
I like that.
For our last episode of the season, we'll do a little post-mortem. We'll take you through the championship game, talk about where we were right, where we were wrong for the year. If Texas cuts down the net, we're going to have to apologize to the SEC. That's the schedule rest away. And then we'll have a couple announcements for you guys on that show about format for next year. So tune in and stay till the end. In the meantime, make sure you get on ChainLink, make your picks. We'll continue lighting up the tournament games. And ChainLink goes all year round. MLB starts this week. So we are filthy with games for the next 190 days.
Unreal. And I will remind you, just for everybody, Houston, Florida was last year's national championship game. Rick chose Florida. I chose Houston. So Rick is currently 1-0 in national championship games. Just a little something for you guys to remember as you're putting together your bracket. The guy knows ball.
Yeah. So we'll throw that out. We'll throw it out on the socials. Our official championship picks. Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
Maybe we'll throw together like a 3-minute show or something.
That might be fun. Something to think about. But hey, hell of an episode, man. A lot of good basketball upcoming. Put your picks in the chat too. Put them in the comments. We want to see what you guys are choosing live as well. So keep us posted.
We got one up there.
Purdue. Yeah, I mean, I can always count on Al for a nice little Purdue shit on. Didn't he say that we were losing to Queens first round and then losing to Miami second round? So
although he almost called Cal Baptist.
He did almost call Cal Baptist. Let me rescind what I got to say about Al because the guy kind of knows ball, but just not fully.
They put the voodoo on your team if you're not nice.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, y'all. Thanks for joining us. Dead Ball Dancing. The shows are up on the channel, so make sure you click that notify button. You won't miss them. Monday night's the next one. Enjoy the Sweet 16. Enjoy the Elite 8. We will see you guys real soon.
Peace, y'all. Talk soon.
Peace out.